Good morning, everyone. I'm frozen. Why am I frozen? Oh, hi, everyone. I'm unfrozen. Wait.
Nice to meet you. I'm Frozen. I'm Mom.
All right, we're going to be frozen. Here you go. Okay. There we go. We don't have music. And Mom's making dad jokes. That's weird. There. All is running well. Okay, good. We are moving. We're moving. Good morning, Sarge. I see you as well. I hope things are going well at work. There we go. We go. Okay. We were working on stuff, but I'm done working on that for today because that took a lot of time. More time, in fact, than we actually wanted to use. But that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Let's see what we got to do today. We got a lot of things to do today. Okay, well, it was good seeing you for the minute or two that I saw you, as usual. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you later. Let's see. I've got a parking lot. I've got a lot of straightaways. I wonder if there's a way to cleverly do streets so that the straightaways have hmm. I am pondering a way to make streets work so that the Good morning, Bob. How are you this morning? Doing okay. I'm doing all right. I am pondering how to make my roads so that they are what I'm pondering here is how do I make it so that I can do eternal driving of the roads without having to worry about without ideally make it so that something rotates so that I don't have to, but I can't make something like a tank tread. So I'm thinking through Because right now what I'm doing is this: roadblock, roadblock. I move down and then take this road and move it over here, and then move down and then take this road and move it over here, and then just keep doing this number constantly so that we've got moving roads. Because you don't really need the model to drive down a 7-mile road. Because all we need is just the road moving underneath the car to give the effect of motion. So I'm trying to think of how to make that work in a way that doesn't require me to go through a lot of machinations to make roads move around. Knowing that I can't move the design of the graphics and stuff like that. And love you. Have a good day at work. Knowing that I can't move the designs of the graphics. I don't know. I'm trying to think of how to do all of this. There's got to be a clever way to do it. Yeah, I'm just trying to animate the roads. Because what we really need is we need a car and then the road going woo underneath the car. That's all we need. We don't need it to actually drive 6 miles while the camera follows it going 6 miles. We just need the car to be in the center of the frame of the video with the road going underneath it. So I'm trying to figure out, is there a way to do it where, like, for example, making the white lines be a physical object in the road. A very long block that only sticks this far off the road surface, and then have them move around in little circles might be smaller and easier to animate. Because at the moment we have what we call the escalator function, or the escalator animation. And that's where you take the plate and move it along, and then at the bottom you just move it underneath like this and then bring it back up onto the other side. Really kind of thinking that's pretty much what we've got. The problem is speed. There's a lot of plates moving around. Yeah, moving the tiles back and forth. I've also been doing this with the there we go, turn on that. I've also been doing these roads based solely on like what? Where's this coming from? Solely on designs from I've been doing all of these based solely on like the concepts and designs of roads that are, I just drew them in my head and didn't actually do anything from, spacing or anything like that that's correct or accurate from the real world. So I really should go and grab things from the real world and use them. Like real intersections. Because I'm not using real intersections in real road and stuff like that, and I really should. There you go. I need more coffee. Hey, David. My toads need more coffee. I mean, to be fair, the Adderall's not taking effect yet either. Yeah, hey, look at that scaling. Look at that. It's like I planned it. And we'll have 2 lines out of each zone. Two dotted lines out for each one. And we'll call this the big. Yeah, well, once I set up where the intersection is in the center of this, if we can cover an intersection like this, which covers all 4 ways moving, then we should be able to because this would have acceleration and deceleration lanes. And turn lanes. This won't have acceleration and deceleration lanes, but it'll have turn lanes. Come in. The other thing is if I make these plates all universal, then they become a lot easier to stack. So even the 2-lane roads being the same size as this works much better. Because now I know that my cars need to be about this size, and it actually helps, and stuff like that. Because then the roads fit. And I really should have done this first, but didn't. And that's all right. And it's okay. We all learn from our mistakes and stuff like that. So it's all good. You are 3,000, so 1,500's about halfway through. Right. There's no way to grab it? I want to grab it. Yep, that's what I thought. Okay, no problem. There. Yeah. I thought that too. I was like, well, that's kind of nice. We'll make them square for the benefit of this, but still. It does make you wonder if the road is curving through this intersection or what. This is 80th and Wadsworth, which I figure is a big, nasty, ugly intersection of doom. So that would work just fine for sort of the baseline of all of my roads. I mean, if you look at this, it's not square either way. Although Wadsworth does seem to be aligned somewhat correctly because the farthest right hand turn lane looks like it's, I mean, if you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, if you look at this somewhat aligned, it should be like here-ish to some degree on this side. Right, because there's 8 lanes, but only 3 are returning either direction, so it should be there. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 going this way, so we want to be on the third lane like that, and that roughly makes it. Yeah, it's Wadsworth down here too. It's a. I used to live on. I've lived on either side of this neighborhood, this intersection for years and years and years. So I'm super familiar with it as far as an intersection goes. But I feel like if we do just the westbounds or the west side and the north side to set up this intersection, we should be pretty straightforward. Because we'll just set up the north to west side here. And we're Insane Kitty again. At least we're consistently Insane Kitty. It's important. Yep. That's why most people are familiar with this. Because black and red is on this side of this intersection. Oh, George has brought the catnip toy up here. So that he can show me how vicious of a hunter he is. It's important. It's very important. Definitely feel like you're a vicious hunter, George. Good job. Right, stay away from the coffee, George, and no one gets hurt. this would give me distance between those two. And you can kind of see what I was saying, and I say it to my kids regularly. These are drawn by humans, not by machines, so it is somewhat questionable as to whether they are lined up correctly or not. Because this is driving school, I will line them up pretty perfectly if I can. Ah, boop! I got you, boop! I still got you, you little weirdo. You're such a weirdo. Yeah, the fact that that is not helping us a whole lot, is it? What I am going to do, because it's going to be fun, is go in here. Like that? Do I not like that? I don't know. I think I do definitely, or probably ought to put it on a different layer anyway. But what I can even do, because people drive really straight, generally speaking. So what I will do instead is not that. It's not what I will do. I just said this on a different layer. To listen to myself. See, I could see them if I were. You can see that there's actual like grooves in the road there. So what I'm going to try to do here is mimic those grooves in the road. Because if we talk about motorcycles and driving in adverse weather, we often talk about them driving in the grooves of the road. So I want to be able to show those grooves in the road because they are real. I'm just adding a layer, not duplicating a layer. There we go. That's better. So I don't know what 4 is. But you can see the lanes without it, and that actually is useful. What else is on these roads is there's usually like a division line right through the middle of them. Yep, because they depress the asphalt, and they could deflect the asphalt up to 2 inches, which is enough to cause a motorcycle to have control issues. All of a sudden, I am suffering from sneeziness. I think my beloved wife gave it to me. All right. Oh, George. So the other thing that usually happens, and I talk about this whenever we talk about 2-lane roads, is... Hey, David. How you doing, bro?
Good, good. How about you guys?
I'm doing fine. Bob's doing pretty good too.
Good, good.
Um,
Let's see if I can get my thing going. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. We can actually see you. And your thing that you're bringing up here too. Do that. Do
All right, I'll just put my art up there, not me, because I live in.
Okay. You do you. There we go. And in the school, I talk about the fact that sometimes oh yeah, no, we're starting with intersections because that has the most complicated bits and pieces. Once the intersection is built and actually correct on its scale and everything like that, then I can then scale it out to other things. I'm not necessarily talking about going 6 miles, but what I am thinking is making sure that whatever road I have set up has the ability to go in plates that'll move back and forth. So I don't intend to draw 6 miles of road. I intend to use every possible tactic that I can to avoid
roads, a lot of roads.
Right. Yeah. But though there are a lot of weird intersections, they aren't that weird. Oh, 90 seconds bizarre. You're doing the I'm looking at you 90 second. This is a generic example, right? So let's make sure. So we now have one set of roads that are viable here, or one set of lanes which we can use for this, and we will make sure that that works. And that's a terrifying picture you've got going up there.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it. Oh, I've got that over there. I didn't realize I had done that, but I guess I did. That's fine. It's interesting that the exit lanes are wider than the entrance lanes. Very interesting. Which means they lose a little bit of their easement on either side. It's fascinating. Now we're doing the how in the world did they pull this off thing.
Oh, traffic.
Yeah, right? Traffic engineers. What were you thinking? Yeah. I'm just standardizing all of my roads. I guess if I look at it though, it does make some sense because to some degree, there's easement on this side. And easement to that side, which makes some sense too. Go down to where it has a shared turn lane, which I don't think it has a shared turn lane, but 72nd has a shared turn lane. 80th is a boulevard, so there's no shared turn lane there. If I take 44th as an example, that's pretty good because it's right outside of one of our schools. So that is a great example. So. The shared turn lanes are useful. to know what 2-lane streets should look like. So we should at least make it so that they can understand, or so that my generic example can hold a shared turn lane.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Right? I'm glad you and I are on the same page. Just saying. It was really, if I'd been smart, I would have set it up to be 1 block exactly. Then I wouldn't have to worry about readjusting all of these sizes every time. I'm still trying to figure out how to do, how to codify my stuff, because what I was noticing earlier today was that it's going to be hard for me to do animation because each one of these plates is a different size. And
Ooh.
so animating the plates so that I have a generic driving animation is going to be difficult because each plate is a different size. So my thought was, if I can unify them so that they were all the same size, I wouldn't have to worry about it. But I have to decide what that size is.
Good luck.
Yeah. And really, if it was 1 block, that would make some sense. So 1 block from side to side makes total sense.
So you hope. So you hope.
Yeah.
Who else usually joins you in the morning?
Do what?
Who else usually joins you in the morning?
I'll get Can in about halfway through, so he'll be here in about 15 minutes or so. Sometimes Pepper is here right off the bat, and then sometimes Pepper isn't. And so it all depends on Pepper's mood today.
All right.
I'm now learning about block planning. Who knew? There's actually like a logic behind it. A typical city block is 330 by 660 feet, or 100 meters by 200 meters, so that 8 north-south blocks measure exactly 1 mile. Who knew that? I mean, that's not universal.
And now you know. No one talked about G.I. Joe.
Yep. How big is their blocks? It didn't answer my question. The whole article is how big are Denver blocks? How big is a city block in Denver? Okay. Standard downtown blocks are 266 by 400 feet. Yeah, we're out in the 1/8 of a mile. So same setup, effectively. Most north-south blocks in Denver are 1/8 of a mile. So they follow that same pattern, eight of them in a mile. So 100 meters by 200 meters. Okay, that helped us. Because now Google Maps, we can show what in Google Maps it's got. The 5 meter. That makes this not a block. I'm just saying. Jerry's throwing marshmallows at us again.
Oh, damn. I love marshmallows.
I know. He's like totally starting a fight. Here's him starting a fight.
I love marshmallows.
Right?
But I'm also fat, so.
So maybe not a full block. Maybe I don't want a full block. Maybe 50 meters? I don't know, maybe 50 meters. Let's see what 50 meters gets us at Wadsworth. I prefer things to be more logical than they have been in this particular. Yes.
I mean, you're asking for a lot.
I know. Well, and I'm just asking for really just a rough analysis here. All right, so we take 50 meters from the street. There's 100 meters. And I just measure up how far it is to Vance. Because it doesn't look like it's going to be an even number naturally. I mean, like, I guess I should have known that was going to happen, but you know. Yeah, well, you know, the thing is that we don't need to be accurate to Denver specifically, because then I'll have to be inventing road plates for all kinds of crap. But just trying to follow the general rules. It's kind of like whenever I talk about yellow lights. Yellow lights are timed to 3 seconds. Well, they aren't, because really what happens is that a yellow light is timed to the however long they think it's going to take for somebody to get through the intersection without crashing into somebody else. And the more times they have people crashing into people, the more times that they have, the longer they'll set that yellow light. So I'll say a yellow light is timed to 30 or to 3 seconds, and my students will go, well, but, and I'm like, yeah, that's because that intersection had more people running red lights and then getting into crashes and killing people. And so they've adjusted that light to be 4 seconds or 5 seconds or 6 seconds, depending. But they start at 3 seconds. And of course, it's designed to be that 3 second following distance. You're supposed to be 3 seconds behind a car in front of you to get a good, safe following distance. So it's designed so that if the car in front of you is still on the green, when the light turns yellow, if he's in the intersection, you can make it through. And that's the design. Now, it doesn't always work that way, but that's the design. So that's how we're supposed to be doing it. But it's back to that whole thing of, I tell my kids right off the bat, all of our laws are written in blood. Then nobody wants to spend money. So what happens is you end up with these setups where all of that's true. You end up with these setups where you have, I'm just trying to do all this stuff and talk at the same time. So if we were to do 200 meters, that would get us from Wadsworth to Vance. That's far more than enough road. So here's your history lesson for the day, guys. For those of you who are not native to the Denver area, I have a history lesson for you guys, as always. Because this stuff always fascinates me, so I go and look it up, naturally. In Denver, in the Denver metro, all of the roads, when they were created, or in the Denver proper area, go like this at a 45, and that's because they follow Cherry Creek, which goes at a 45-degree angle. Right? So all of our roads cross bridges that go over Cherry Creek, which makes some sense. And that's where you get Spear, which is split between both sides of Cherry Creek, and then Platte and all of those things as far as you get down in the middle of downtown. All of our rivers are crooked that go through downtown. So they're all at these weird angles. So that's fine. But Arvada is one of the oldest towns, and it went north-south because it was following the rail line, the BNSF, which was at the time the Santa Fe line, which came straight from Kansas. So that line came in from Kansas at a straight line because it was heading straight out to California. So all of Arvada is built around that rail line, which is north and south. And so what happened was, over the years, these streets, of course, would extend, and these streets would extend until finally they met. And when they met, you ended up with streets that have, like they always do here in Colorado, these bizarre 5-way intersections. Or 6-way intersections, as they end up in these weird intersections. I tell this to my kids all the time because they're like, when in the world would we ever run into a 5-way intersection? And I'm like, at every junction to downtown. Every junction. All of them. Because the Denver city planners went this way, and all of the other city planners went this way. And so we've got this section all around the outside of downtown where everything is these weird K-style intersections. And that's why we have all of those. I take a little break in my class and explain that to the kids so that they go, "Aw, crap." I'm like, "Yep, can't help you, man." So,
Oh crap!
yep. Well, and Golden, of course, is also built on a river. It's just that it happens to be very lucky that their river is coming straight down from a canyon and it's straight. That's the actual one that we use all the time. 18th Broadway in Tremont. We use it like 4 or 5 times in a class because that's such a brutal intersection. And since Broadway is a one-way, that intersection where you're coming along 18th and it splits and then Broadway crosses right through the middle of it, and you end up with, you have to make a decision as to whether you're going right or left. And you cannot make a right on Broadway, but a lot of people do by accident. And so that's one of the reasons why we use that intersection, is because people get confused. Because everybody's like, you must be a real idiot to go the wrong way on a one-way. And I'm like, yeah, no. I mean, I would say, look at this intersection. How many directions can you turn? And they're like, well, 4. And I'm like, yeah, except that you can't. And if you miss that sign that's sitting up there, it says one way, you're going to take a right turn on Broadway and head into oncoming traffic. So it's not actually as easy as people, or as you know, it's not so simple. It's always, everybody always thinks that it's like stupid simple. And it's like, nah, not really.
You expect me to turn down Broadway? No, Mr. Bond. I expect you to die.
Right, exactly. No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
I expect you to die.
The signs are blocked, things like that. I usually say that because the biggest thing I try to convey to my kids is, don't assume the other drivers are jerks. Assume that they just missed an important thing and got confused. Because honestly, as the Japanese say, even monkeys fall from trees. And so there are those days where you are the monkey. You know? And you fall from the tree. All right, so 200 meters puts us from Wadsworth to Vance, but puts us over the intersection by a significant point. So it's not absolutely straight. The question really is, if I take you, is it 200 meters between? It is. So it's 200 meters from the center of Vance to the center of Teller. That fits. Okay. And there's that weird half block. And up your ham. Up your mom's ham. Okay. I just had to make a your mom joke. Sorry. So it looks like the half blocks are at 100 meters almost straight. So if I were to make our blocks 100 meters, for example, that would give us enough space to put in a parking lot or whatever on one side. And that would be useful. And that would give us, right? Very appropriate for this. All right. So we have now decided our scale.
I work for the government.
Our scale is going to be 100 meters. Yeah. You work for the government, and ironically, I don't. I just work to help the government. But I am most definitely with a private company.
Excuse me.
You're welcome. Okay, so let's double check something though. We're double checking the width of Yarrow. Let's double check the width of Zephyr. With its easement. I'm just doing all this math. I actually, by the way, if you guys are wondering, I actually do enjoy doing this, so there's no hurting here or anything like that.
Oh, it hurts. Trust me.
Yeah, I'm just making sure that nobody's like, does this really? No, this actually, I like order. I like making order. So it makes me feel a lot better to know things are orderly and correct. So and we have to do this. So first of all, you can already tell that's not 5 meters. Second of all, from easement to shining easement. Huh.
Well, thankfully, I don't have ADHD. I could just be like a normal person, unlike Guy over here.
Yeah, I have ADHD. But some of we were talking about dysfunctions that come from ADHD. One of the ongoing dysfunctions from ADHD is a certain amount of OCD.
See, me, I'm just fat. And I'm okay with that.
Okay, but that's not where I was headed, but that's okay. You do you, boo.
That's my only dysfunction. I'm fat.
Looks like our street's 11 meters. Standard street. So you know that my kid really likes hanging out with you and looks forward to seeing you.
Ooh,
I just
me?
wanted you to know that.
Why me?
I don't know. But I just thought you needed to know that.
Man, I like the kid too. He's cool.
Yeah. You and the kid get along really well and really famously. So I just want you to know that he likes you and he appreciates you.
Yo, tell him the feeling's mutual.
That works. All right.
Thanks, guy. That made me feel better today.
Yeah, I figured it would because I don't think I've ever told you that. He would sit there and say things like, I would say, we're going to drawing club. And he'd be like, okay, but will David be there? Okay, yeah, maybe. I don't know. So, I mean, like, you're one of the reasons he likes to go to drawing club. So there's that.
I wish I could go to drawing club. Like my work is interfering with like my scheduled days now.
It's all good.
So,
Well, and we're having problems right now because winter. Just winter
true.
in general is being kind of a pain. So we're not making it as often as we want to either. But still, I just wanted you to know that that's a thing. He's into that. He thinks it's cool.
Thanks. My car's in the shop today. I was feeling a little low.
Yeah, he just thinks you're a good kid. So we're at 8. Well, so there actually is a standard to roads because they'll blast out a road for easement's sake. Look at Zephyr. Look at how much they've fixed the on in there with the black curly stuff. I tried to clear up the cracks in Zephyr because they don't repave Zephyr
Fun
very often.
fact, that is called bituminous. It is a oil byproduct, and I
It
know
is.
because I used to work on roads in Washington.
Yep. And there's your other factoid for the day.
Bituminous or bituminous, whatever you guys want to call it.
This would be so much easier in Photoshop. It's hard for myself. In fact, you know what? We should solve this problem.
You're right, they did fix it real good. Real good means real broken.
What?
I was talking about Bob. Yeah, they
Oh.
said, yeah, they fixed it real good. Fun fact, those bituminous cracks that have been filled only last about 7 months.
Yes.
And it's worse when it rains or snows.
Well, that's actually I actually tell kids that because they're like, yeah, it's climate. That's the biggest problem. Everybody always, I get a lot of kids who are doing the, you know, oh man, it's they're oh, there we go. Hey, look at that. And it actually puts like all of the little pixels in. How very cool. But they talk about, oh hey, that's extraordinarily useful actually. Sorry. Anyway, the kids always talk about, oh, all of our roads suck all the time because nobody wants to fix them. And I keep having to remind them that we are in a climate that's routinely 0 degrees Fahrenheit all the way up to 110 degrees Fahrenheit throughout the year. And that is brutal on things. To boot, ice gets into the roads every year. Like every time we have these ice where it snows and then the snow turns to water and then the water turns to ice, that's what ice does, it expands. So it gets into these cracks and then freezes, and when it does, it immediately pushes the street apart. So every snowstorm, our roads get just a little bit worse. And
yeah, teach them from chemistry class.
Right? We get some actual science in here, folks. I speak science all the time in my classes. I'm like, you guys know what a Faraday cage is, right? Because we got these little like things where these sleeves that you're supposed to put your phone in, so that it's supposed to be a don't text and drive, kids, but it ends up being more of a get rid of okay. It ends up being more of a thing where the kids just are consciously not putting their phones out on the table or looking at their phones during class. You don't want that. So anyway, it's a Faraday cage because it's copper lined. All right, so it's 290. Yeah, it doesn't help to put expansion joints. hitting the buttons. So 290 divided by 5 equals 58. So each meter is 58 pixels, which works. Uh-oh. Yeah, that works. That's enough for me, I mean, I guess. So this weekend, I work on Saturday, and my buddy Troy, who just got hired to the company, is going to actually be in the class with me. So we're going to have the
Oh,
geek
dang.
version of driving school. It'll be driving school via Geek Tank. This could be interesting. Because he needs to shadow. Yeah, well, that'll work. In a pinch, that'll work. So that should be fun and interesting for the kids. Geek Tank does driving school, which could be unpleasant, depending on how you look at it, but
It could be terrifying.
could be terrifying. Nope.
But I'm sure it's going to be all right. So
It'll be fine. All right, now we can actually accurately measure this to some degree and come up with 11 meters is about the width of that street, and that works. And now we can rotate this 90 degrees. Hit OK. And check with this street. It's 5, 10, which isn't more than about 13.5 meters. That's interesting. I guess that was not what I expected the result to be. But I guess that makes some sense. So just put 11 meters. Take here. That's probably and we'll measure the width of a lane. 1, 2, 3 meters. Sounds about right-ish, give or take. It's a little over 3 meters, but these measurements will help us figure out 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's get a bigger road. So I'll slide back out over to Wadsworth again, but I'll pick North Wadsworth. Whoa, you know what? I could also use you. Because now I'm kind of you're also interesting. Who knows? I am actually horribly fascinated by this stuff anyway, so like this all works.
Roads?
Yeah, roads. It's like everything. I hyper focus on it, and then I'm fascinated by everything I learn, and that's the nature of the beast. It's why I had a friend post a picture of a C-97, a KC-97 aircraft,
Okay.
and it was like I could tell that it was a KC-97, you know, and it was like, hey, it's just because at one point in time I got hyper focused on airplanes. And ADD means that I don't ever forget stuff, you know. It's the nature of the beast. So it is super annoying sometimes, but sometimes it's actually very useful.
That's good.
And that's actually what I've been trying to get my kid to understand. Is like hyper focusing on this like I am today will save me time in the long run, because I actually think that I'm not only going to do these videos for the school, but I'm going to do I think I'm going to do a bunch of YouTube videos as well on, you know, driving tactics and techniques and things like that. And I can use these for other things. So this isn't the last time we're going to be using this. And hopefully people would find that to be useful enough that they'd pay me money for it, in theory, you know.
Well, at least an ad revenue.
So there's I-70 with a turn lane. Did the KC-97 grow up to be a super guppy? It kind of does look like it, doesn't it? I mean, because it's like they took the B-29's nose and completely redesigned it to make it look very similar to what a super guppy looks like. I do sort of feel like they are, I mean, spiritually, they definitely have very similar structural concepts, don't they? Oh, man. I want to see something cool, guys. Look at that. That's the stripes on I-70 versus the stripes on 44th. You see, they're off by just a little bit.
My God.
I say that because people are like, the stripes are all different everywhere in Denver. And I'm like, they're actually not. They're supposed to be uniform. And yeah, they're hand drawn. So it's pretty much, the truck goes down the road and they press down on the button for X number of seconds and they let up on the button for X number of seconds. But it's supposed to be at least remotely the same. That makes some sense. That's why they look the same.
I know. I used to be in a truck that was in a striper.
Oh, you used to stripe?
Yeah.
So you do. You push the button, yes? And
Yeah,
stripe?
it's a button press.
Yay.
Actually, the one I used in Washington was so there's a box you sit in, and then there's like a control panel, and you pick the design, and you press it, and you press the start when it comes over your radio to start.
You have done all kinds of so many cool jobs, which I'm sure when you did them, you did not think they were cool.
I also put down bituminous. That's why I know about that. I also did, my favorite was thermoplastic.
Was what?
So, you know those stop bars that you see?
Yeah.
That's not paint, that's thermoplastic.
Oh.
So what happens is they mix up this big thing, this big vat of thermoplastic, and they have this side handle. You slide the opening, and thermoplastic goes into this heated like side repository. And then you press down on the repository, and it lets out this bitumen, this thermoplastic. And you just go along, and behind the repository is filled with small glass beads to make it reflective.
Oh.
So they inundate thermoplastic with the small glass beads. And that's what makes it so you can see it at night.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's the same thing with the stripes on the lane.
Yeah.
Except those are paint and not thermoplastic.
Right.
Yeah, I used to go all over Washington doing that stuff. All the way up to Mount Vernon and back. Good times, good times. I also put down buttons. So I sat in a little pit on the side of a truck.
And
they lowered me to the highway, and I would press a foot button to squirt out some bituminous, and then have like a super heavy insulated glove on, and I put down reflective buttons on the highway.
Huh. You really have done some fascinating jobs, man.
You think so?
Well, a lot of these things are stuff that I talk to my kids about because I, at some point in time, got all fascinated by this and read up on it on Wikipedia. But there's a difference between reading it on Wikipedia and talking to somebody who actually did it.
Well, if you guys got questions, I can answer them about it.
I love that, man.
Washington
definitely is more challenging than Colorado in a lot
because
of
Washington doesn't have snow, so we don't use plows. That's why we can use buttons on the highway.
Right. Our plows, we just have a budget for it. For torn up.
Plows also pop up buttons. So
that's what I mean. We have a budget for fixing our buttons.
So they did float an idea to put recessed buttons in.
Yep.
But they found out those got all too gunked up.
Yeah, they just get a gummy. All right. So our checks got screwed up somehow. I'm not sure what happened. But I just got an email from my manager, and she's like, "Hey, I have your checks here for reasons. Check your email." So I'm like, okay, I'll check my email.
Better go get them.
Yeah, I hope this isn't that we fired you, though. I mean, it could be.
Think so?
I don't know. Probably not. But I am horrible about, like, stupid stuff.
You know what? You'd be perfect at that.
Like, the thing I am the worst about
You'd be
is
perfect at TSA.
EDAP 205, class 3 and 4. Eh. Yeah. I can accept that. When do you want to move it to?
Well, if you ever want a job at TSA, let me know.
Right? Oh boy, our permit tests have changed. Oh, that's a thing. Class 1, class 2.
All right, I'll be right back. I gotta take a leave.
Man, that was a morning, cat. We are having a day of road rules. I don't know. So you're going to probably get inundated with a whole bunch of random weird stuff about the driving rules of Denver, Colorado. Probably not the most interesting or exciting thing that you have ever experienced, but you know, it's a thing. All right. Road rage. We were doing art. We are doing art. I just have to do these animations for my driving school. And that means that we've got to do all of this artwork for the school. And I have to figure out what all of these things are. So, yep, apparently there was a payroll error last night. And so now we've got this being weird. Okay, 5, 10, 15, 20, 21, 22. So from wall to wall on our interstates is 22 meters.
I have returned.
You have returned. Do you have the secret to the air shield? That's the question.
Well, I'm drawing. I'm doing art. I don't know
Right.
about it.
I do find it interesting that the lanes, though, on the interstate are about 4 meters.
I'm drawing.
So this is an exit to Interstate 76 going off to the left. So, I mean, you could tell because of the shortened hash lines, but still, it's 3.5 meters that side, which is interesting because I've often felt being in the left lane that it was slightly smaller and narrower, which is cool. Cool to see that actually in action here. So it's also almost 4 meters in the breakdown lane on this side. It's 3.5 meters there. Interesting. So looking at the lanes on 44th, they're 3 meters. Just a little over 3 meters. But looking out on I-70, they're 4 meters. but they're only 4 meters on this side because I'm actually not. This doesn't look the same. Yeah, that's 3.5 meters. So it's only the left lane or the far right lane. Sorry, far right lane that's 4 meters. Wonder what that means. Or is it that I just can't see the breakdown lane line? Maybe that's because of the shadow of the retaining wall. That's fascinating. And if you guys are wondering, yes, I use metric all the time now. I got over standard American when I was in Japan, and metric is so much easier to use. In general, metric is just so much easier. So I got over it when I was in Japan, and so there you go. And that's the way it is. And we can just deal with it. Next thing I want to measure, so it's 22 meters with each lane being, this lane's oddly 4 meters. I'm not sure why. But this is 3 meters. It's actually 3.5 meters, which makes some sense. We give more room on interstates because of the speed. And the normal stripes look like they are 3 meters. Which I don't know if that's what you confirm on your side, with almost a 10-meter gap between them. 9 meters between. Since it's going to be in standard metric or standard English, I'm actually surprised at how close to the metric system these are. You know, I'm like, well, like those stripes are almost exactly 3 meters. Right? And these stripes are almost exactly 1 meter. These dashes, which I find fascinating. And a 3.5 meter gap, which makes sense. So it's the gap between these stripes is the same as the width of a standard highway. Lane, that is. Fascinating to me. These are all fascinating things. Question I really have, are these 9 meters apart down here? Give or take, still 9 meters apart. So how do you decide the distance between stripes?
The computer does that.
Oh, okay.
So when he goes, when I'm in the truck, there's another computer at the front cab that will align the truck more. And then he'll start driving, and then he'll call me back on the radio and says, "All right, start now." And then I'll press the button.
Okay. Jerry's starting out with, so you were on Okinawa. That's kind of cool. You never got over to the mainland. Well, mainland. Mainland and island. But I guess the UK kind of has like mainland things too. Yeah. Like the main part of the UK, which really isn't a mainland per se because the UK is still also an island. But yeah. So, okay. That's kind of cool though. Okinawa's cool. Hi, George. How are you doing? Oh, fluffy bunny. We're doing road stuff. Why are they so obsessed with game shows? No, time for our daily George visit. You have to come here, though. Why are they so obsessed with game shows and things like that? That's a good question. Oof. Big fluffy boy.
Well, he didn't knock over any coffee today, did he?
No, I've put my coffee over on the step ladder onto the right now. So I will tell you a sad thing, a sad fact about game shows. And this comes from my mother, who was a producer, because she watched the first couple of seasons of Survivor and said, yeah, I can see why they're doing it, but it's stupid. And then she said, then I asked her, I said, well, okay, so what's the point? Why are they doing that? And her response was, they do that because it's cheap. You don't have to pay union rules for the talent. And that's really what it boils down to. Union rules, the union, SAG and AFTRA here in America, SAG and AFTRA have a union of actors where, see, I mean, like trying to keep him off of here is so difficult because he just comes back around because you're a floof and you're weird. And no one has seen your butthole yet. So naturally, this is the way the day has to be. So there we go.
That's nasty.
Cat. So the reason that Survivor began and things like that was because union requires you to pay talent what they call scale. And scale is whatever is the scale for today. Back in the 80s, it was like $275 a day or something like that. So it was a day rate, and that's what they called it, the day rate. And if you were an actor and you worked on a show, you were required to pay your actors a scale. And what happens is this: there's two different scales. There's what they call on-screen non-speaking scale, which is when you are on screen but you don't say anything. That's a different scale than on-screen speaking, which is one of the reasons why you will see bizarre things happen in movies where someone will come up to another actor in the scene and go, "Oh, you look lovely," and the other actor goes and waves. Because if they say a word, their scale changes, and they are all of a sudden on the hook for a lot more money. The production company is. So game shows, however, are different, because on game shows, you are not all of the people on a game show are not union members. They don't belong to SAG and AFTRA. And in fact, when you join a game show, the first thing they're going to do is say, "Hey, are you SAG or AFTRA?" And so, yeah, that's one of the reasons why they don't like to go live as well. Because if they go live, all somebody has to do is have a SAG or AFTRA card and say hi, and boom, they're all of a sudden, they're actually worth scale at that point in time. And so you have to pay them scale the moment they say a word. So 'tis the nature of the beast. Japan makes their game shows so that they don't have to pay the Japanese version of scale. And that's why they're so obsessed with them, is because the Japanese learned a very long time ago, because they're a very, the society of Japan is very cooperative. And so the companies in Japan tend to be somewhat exploitative to that if they're not careful. So what ends up happening is you end up with these people who, so sidewalks are about 1 meter. That's interesting. You end up with people who will exploit the fact that in Japan, they I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna try it again. So what they'll do is with game shows, they will make the game shows popular, adding lots of flashing lights and things that make people attracted to it, playing the little games of, oh, David's gonna win. Tune in next week to see whether David wins, which means that you have to tune in next week to find out if David wins or not. They'll play games like that are all mind games, so that they can get you to tune in next week for it and stuff like that. And that's a normal thing.
No.
Yeah, they do that all the time. So that's how this all works in Japan.
You on a cliffhanger?
Huh?
I don't think so.
I didn't hear anything you just said, my friend.
I said leave you on a cliffhanger? No.
Right? Never happens, right? Never happens. Anyway, so that's the answer to your question, Jerry. They're cheaper. And that's why. The easement is 1 meter. That's not what I want either. Learning with Guy. They contrived to keep teams from going too far apart, and they perfected it. I mean, they perfected the game show to a bizarre degree. I have seen Japanese game shows that are just weird. Before they really got into following our moral standings on things in the 70s and 80s, there were game shows that were comparing women's boobs, and the women would just come in and take off their shirts, and then they'd compare boob size and stuff like that. It was like, this is the weirdest game show ever. And then like you'd have things where husbands had to identify their wife by their boobs, so they'd go around and feel all the boobs to see, with the women where you couldn't see their heads or anything below their waist. They just go feel all the boobs until it was just like, what are you you guys doing? Like the weirdest stuff.
That's weird.
And I mean, it's some of them are great. I just tend to not watch them because I feel bad. Because of course it's the classic war of companies versus unions. This is a classic battle that has been going on for ever.
Millennia.
Yeah. You know, unions make it so that companies are forced to pay their employees something that's reasonable. Companies don't want to pay what's reasonable. And then sometimes unions get out of control, rightfully so. I mean, then they make the companies pay what's not reasonable. And that's sort of a balancing act that plays out all the time. And government tries to get in there and help that sometimes and
Unsuccessfully most of the time.
do what?
I said unsuccessful most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, like that's what minimum wage is helping out that.
My union can't even strike. They took away our only bargaining power.
Right? That's the only problem. Well, but on the flip side, working for the government is a different story. Because the government has set rules to how much you can be paid and what you can be paid. And they have to be completely open about it. I mean, you have a GS rating.
No, I don't.
You should, because
I have
you're a
a
government
band
employee. You what?
I have a band scale. I'm a redheaded stepchild, not an actual government employee.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be on a GS scale.
No,
'Cause
I
that's
am
really-
a GS equivalent scale.
Oh man, that sucks.
Yeah, I have a band rating.
That is
Like
so
currently I'm E-band.
See, you shouldn't be. You should be straight up a government employee with a GS scale,
Yeah,
which
I
then
agree.
you would
I
hire.
agree.
You'd hire that, and everybody would know that, and all would be good. Yeah. And you're not, and that's not cool, man. That's not cool. You found one of those, Bob? Bob found the butt ones, and then there was also boob ones. Yeah. I don't mind the castle sieges. But the answer to your question, Jerry, is it's cheaper. Which made my mom grumpy. Which was funny because I remember in the 80s, my mom was forced to go union. Because if she didn't go union, they were going to take away her right to have union. So she, in the 80s, when she started her talent agency, she had union and non-union talent. And then the union came in and said, you either go all union or you stop having union people. And she was so mad because she had to dump one or the other, right? I mean, either she had, and she at the time, I think, was something like 50-50. And, 50% of her people were union and 50 were non-union. So she was like sitting there literally going, okay, what do I choose? We're going to lose half of our talent. And it doesn't matter which way we go. And she was so mad. But then, she was pro-union because she believed that unions help in general with that. And she went pro-union on that one. But it was still sad to lose. What she actually ended up doing was saying, hey, all of you guys who are non-union, join the union. The problem is when you're a little actor that does like one job every 5 or 6 years, paying union dues for a thing that you only get the benefit out of once every 5 or 6 years sucks. So the funny thing about Amazing Race is they always have people who don't know how to drive manual. And they always give them a manual. And like Troy always makes that argue, like always says that same thing. He's like, "Why? Just out of curiosity, guys, why would you give everybody manuals? I mean, why would you not? I'm going to go work on Amazing Race, and so why in the world would I not do manuals? I'm going to do Amazing Race, and I can't drive stick. You know, it's like, okay, what, guys? I totally do Amazing Race. I can drive pretty much anything. And I love driving things. And diesel onlys. So yeah, so you don't know how to use glow plugs. You don't know how to pre-warm your engine, stuff like that. Just so funny. It's like, oh man, guys. Not only could I drive anything in Amazing Race, but I could also do it with my shirt on. I was watching Mulan yesterday, for you guys are wondering. I'll do that, pretty boy, and I'll do it with my shirt on. It's such a freaking funny movie. Right? Like, that was the whole thing. Was like, why the hell would you guys take anybody who could not drive stick? What you guys were thinking?
To make it interesting.
Right? But it's like, really, honestly, David, like you and I, let's just pretend you and I are going to go join Amazing Race. You don't drive stick. We're going to join Amazing Race. It's 8 months from now. In 6 months, you could be awesome at driving stick. Right? I mean, like,
True.
right? I'd stick you in my car and say, you drive my car for the next 2 weeks in rush hour traffic. Right? I mean,
And on pills.
I got a 6-speed manual, man. You could drive. You'd be fine. Fine. But why would you do that? That is so weird. People crack me up. Like, why in the world would you do that? All right, we were messing with stuff, and then we got caught on Amazing Race. Kapling! Independence. I'll go back to my original Wadsworth and 80th. That's probably the biggest normal street these guys will ever be on. Wadsworth and 72nd is not a bad intersection. It's the top of a hill. It's relatively new. I can get our point of no returns in on 72nd. That's nice. Yeah, I'll take Wadsworth on 72nd. That's good. That's a good intersection. Who's a good little intersection? Who's a good little woody intersection? Yeah, right. Like it almost is like they specifically put it in the application. Can you drive stick? No. Good. You're in. Yes. Oh, you're out. I'm sorry. I just didn't take it. How much of this intersection can I have before the things get ugly over here? Not a lot of this intersection is what the answer is. At this scale. Wow. Intersections are big. Bigger than we think they are. Some poor dude towing this trailer here. It's interesting to think that intersections are, in fact, All right. So this is what, man, the intersections is big. It's bigger. The intersection's bigger than the interstate. I don't think I would have put money on that. I mean, wouldn't have guessed it, I guess I should have said. That's fine. It depends on what you're trying to drive. I mean, like, legitimately, if you're trying to drive something that's like a deuce and a half, you're asking for it. And I don't doubt that you were entertaining.
The real question is, are you not entertained?
They said, or Bob's saying they're still laughing at him to this day.
Not entertained.
And the little bobtail trucks, yeah, those little bobtail trucks also have rough clutches. So, there's that. It all depends on how you look at it. Man, look at the footprint, though, that these intersections take up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we got 8 standard lanes going one direction, 6 standard lanes going the other. That's a lot of laneage there. I'll just park you right here. Because I'm just going to save this as a big picture for me to use just so I can have it for reference. We're 5 minutes till 11, and I've got a lunch to go to, and now I have to go pick up my paycheck first.
Oh, damn. Dang. That's what I meant to say.
Sunday evening, yes. I'll be here Sunday evening. It's even plausible that David will be here.
Not me, I'll be working. Oh, God.
It is not plausible that David will be here either. Nothing we can do about it.
God, I hate working.
You hate working. This is me working right now. Cars are roughly 2 meters. I did this before. About 4.5 years, 5 years. I did this before to make sure my cars were the right size, but if we're going to standardize everything, we might as well standardize everything. Okay. Well, I'm feeling like we've got like a number of things going on here. I should probably feel like I should take down the street a little here. Give me some space on this I can work on before we go.
All right, well, my day was productive. I got something else I can put up on my site.
I'm not hearing you. What?
I said my day was productive.
Yeah, my day's been pretty productive too. I like this. This works.
I got something else to put on my site.
You do. You also do really good with stickers.
That's what this is going to be.
I figured.
Damn, we didn't see nobody else today, huh? No Brian, no Pepper.
Right? They just abandoned us, left us to be just abandoned and sad.
That's what I feel.
Right? I'm gonna make sure these line up. 11:01, but yeah. I think these line up just fine. At least as Bob has already said, close enough for government work.
It's actually government.
Yeah.
It's close enough for government work.
Bob's also been government, so there's that.
Well, there's a B in there, not an M. Government work.
Government. All right, I'm gonna actually move you over to here because I want that easy. But everything is to the same scale, and I have a very large intersection here which I can play with. It's really useful. And then I will head out of here in just a moment because I'm going to go to lunch with my buddies, where I have an inordinate number of questions to ask them, of course, naturally.
All right, well, it was great seeing everybody.
It was good seeing you too. Thank you, my friend, for joining me.
Anytime.
And as always, I will see everybody else on Sunday night because we're heading into the weekend and I don't broadcast over the weekend. So Sunday night's the next broadcast. And as always, keep your eyes on the stars. Goodbye, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Bye.